Happy Friday, sports fans, and welcome back to FNN Sports Take with me, Kasey Hudson. I hope everybody had an amazing week, because if you haven't paid attention to it, it's basically week 2 of us having the most sports that we've had in like over 130 plus days. So we have a lot to be thankful for right now in the sports world. Of course, we're kicking off with the NFL because that's what we do. And when it comes to the NFL, you know that we primarily cover the Bucs here in Florida. So we got to touch up with some guys in some press conferences. Of course, the head man himself, Bucs head coach Bruce Arians, on Wednesday. We actually wanted to dive in a little deeper past, COVID talk. He already mentioned that he trusts what the staff has put together, the NFL, the NFLPA. We know that the NFL and the NFLPA still have some things to discuss and dive into before we fully get into the 2020 NFL season. But coach has made it very, very sure that he is safe in those facilities. He said if these guys catch anything, it's not going to be here. It's going to be if they're not disciplined outside of the facilities. So no house parties, boys. Other than that, we got to dive into the playbook a little bit with coach. We know that he's excited about the options that he's going to have running 2 tight ends out there, the wide receiver spread. And he even mentioned some of those younger guys that are impressing him right now. We know Scotty Miller is going to be that slot guy that Tom Brady can use, just like a Julian Edelman and Danny Amendola. Well, coach is very impressed by Scotty thus far. He also was very impressed with Justin Watson. He mentioned that Watson shows up a lot on special teams. He actually led the team in tackles last year. So these guys have stepped up. They're going to give Brady more options aside from the Mike Evans, the Chris Godwin. And, of course, everybody's excited to see that bromance between Tom Brady and Gronkowski. Coach also discussed the fact that, when it comes to if the season's going to finish, they don't stay in towns as long as baseball does. We know that baseball is having a colossal mess right now. They're actually just going to be heading into the towns. They're not going to be going to restaurants for dinner. They're just going to go there, hit their hotel rooms, do their testing for COVID, do the games, head on the airplane, and come back home. So they're minimizing the risk as much as possible. He thinks that if everybody does what they can, that they will fulfill a 16-week season. The other thing he said that they discussed last week is that these guys need to have a commitment to one another, because, the guys that have families that are concerned but are not opting out, you don't want to put them at risk. So he said the guys are very committed at being in this together. He's only had one player opt out of the 2020 season. Aside from Bruce Arians, of course, the biggest name on the team, or the biggest name on the team aside from head coach, is Tom Brady. We got a chance to catch up with him yesterday in a press conference call, kind of pick his brain on how it was to transition during COVID-19. Of course, he had to move his whole family down here. And for the first time in 19 years, he's had to dive back into a playbook, but he's mentioned 100 times that he's a logistical guy. So the more confident and more dove in that he's gotten to that playbook, he just feels like it'll translate on the field. We know that he was doing some workouts at Berkeley Preparatory School besides the evasive helicopters trying to spy on everybody out there. So he got to kind of get to know some of his offensive weapons, but now he really wants to dive in deeper with these guys, especially the younger guys. He's not the kind of leader or quarterback that's just going to pinpoint the top names on the team like the Mike Evans and the Godwin. He wants as many options as possible, and he is known for being that quarterback that can light that spark in that younger guy or that underdog. I mean, he's kind of been the fire of some of these guys' careers. So I'm so excited to see what players he ends up making the most out of this coming season, and so is Brady. We also got to ask him about his point of view in terms of, what is he going to be able to do with the Bucs that he hasn't been able to do with the Patriots? And that was kind of a hard question to throw at him. He's like, I have to dive into the book a little deeper. We haven't got to throw on pads yet, which changes the game. So in the next couple of weeks, we'll get to follow back up with him and see what's he most looking forward to with the Bucs that he was unable to do for 19 seasons with the Patriots. Now, when it comes to more Tom Brady talk for just a second, we know that Cam Newton is the new QB over at the Patriots, and he said it's a very surreal experience to be wearing a Patriots jersey, to be a Patriot. We know that team is still going to be fighting in playoffs because they have one of the most brilliant coaches in the league. We have to give that to them whether we like it or not. But the bad news for Cam Newton is that even though he may be healthy, even though he has his own very unique skill set, he's a mobile QB, he's a big guy, he's got a tight end body on him, but he is a very accurate quarterback. He may be falling short some of those offensive weapons that he's looking forward to running out on the field with, because as you guys know, the opt-out deadline was yesterday, and a significant amount of key players have decided to opt out. They have younger babies or families to be considerate of. They're not going to put their family at risk. So just for perspective, I mean, we're talking 20 years versus about 10 years when it comes to Cam Newton. He was out primarily most of last season with another injury. So If you think of Tom Brady's career, a little over 74,000 yards, 541 touchdowns, and 179 interceptions, versus Cam Newton's a little over 29,000 yards, 182 touchdowns, and 108 interceptions. You guys let me know. How much progress do you think Cam Newton's going to make, and what kind of staple is he about to make in his career with the Patriots? Do you think he's going to be there after this coming season, or do you think he's going to finish his career with the Patriots, or he's going to end up moving on? The biggest key here is a healthy Cam Newton. And I'm not too worried about him being short some offensive weapons because, like I mentioned a moment ago, he is a very mobile quarterback and a big dude running down that field. Now, for some guys signing some contracts, we got the 49ers bringing in defensive end Jordan on a one-year contract, and the Eagles re-signed Curry to a one-year deal as well. Backtracking to a little over 30 players that opted out of the 2020 season coming up. As I mentioned, the deadline was yesterday. Now, only one Bucs player decided to opt out of the season. They don't want his name released just yet. When it comes to other players, we've got wide receiver Allison from the Lions. We've got cornerback Beal from the Giants, which that will be a big deal in that backfield. Defensive tackle Billings for the Browns. Running back Bolden for the Patriots, offensive tackle Cannon for the Patriots, safety Chung for the Patriots. This is going to be a big deal in that backfield for the Pats. Offensive tackle Gilbert for the Cardinals, linebacker Hightower for the Patriots. We know he was a huge presence on the field, in the backfield, and in Super Bowl. He was one of those clutch players that actually helped carry the Patriots to a Super Bowl title. So to not have him out there is going to be a massive impact. But you don't ever want to count out Bill Belichick for having depth on his roster because, like I said, that's the team, as well as the team leader, Tom Brady, that just handed these players their career or their breakout moment. So I am psyched to see what Belichick's going to have on the charts there in order to bring up some players on that roster. They don't have any preseason games. So these underdogs are these guys that are on the line of having that capability of bumping up on the roster. That opportunity is not there. So as many of the players are saying right now, training camp practices are going to have to be treated like games or, walkthroughs on a Thursday night, and scrimmages are going to have to be treated like real NFL games. So we'll see what takes place as we get further into training camp in the season. We also have wide receiver Hearns for the Dolphins, offensive tackle James for the Broncos, wide receiver Marquise Lee for the Patriots. So if you guys caught on to that, there's a lot of Patriots guys that will not be on that field this year. So let me know, what do you guys think that Cam Newton's career is going to look like with the Patriots for the 2020 season? Will he end his career with the Patriots? Will he have a takeoff season? What are you guys hoping to see from Newton in a Pats jersey? Make sure you shoot us a message, comment below, let us know, and we'll break down that conversation next time. Stick with us as we go to a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we break down some NBA and NHL.
We wanted to move back home to be closer to his family. We decided to go with pods because things were stressful enough.
We weren't sure how long we were going to need storage for, so we needed something that was flexible, and then they can deliver the container to wherever we move to.
We haven't found the perfect house yet, but we're still looking.
All right, guys, welcome back. So the Orlando Magic, they had a heck of a game versus the Raptors the other day. Hopeful moment in the third quarter, but they're still kind of doing what they've been doing for the past 3 years. They're unable to finish. They had a huge comeback third quarter, and then they let up and let the Raptors beat them 109-99. Magic versus 76ers took place earlier today, and I'll have those scores for you guys shortly. Now, Pelicans decided to rest Zion versus the Wizards, but we know that they needed to use him in overtime the other night, and coach was really scared to have his key player playing an extensive 25 minutes, but he said that he was just happy that the team trusted him to be out there and to carry that one for him. So it was great that he got an opportunity to rest. Sixers, Simmons sidelined with a knee injury, so prayers and best wishes go out to him. And LeBron James claps back at the president saying, look, I won't miss your viewership, so if you don't want to watch, don't watch. We have to expect that all players are not going to really care who decides to drop out at this point. Now, for the NHL, you guys know I geek out over this subject. The Bolts are crushing it. We had the exhibition game last week where they killed the Panthers 5-0, then top of the week versus the Capitals. You guys know I freak. When we play those physical teams, I can't really watch, especially third period, and shootouts count me out completely. I am a nervous wreck because we are so skilled. Cooper is such a logistical coach, but the minute that physicality and that size is on us, we tend to give up leads or completely hand over the game. So what I will say is the fight is there. We know the Bolts want this, and I can see them in the playoffs high in there, hopefully Stanley Cup. They beat the Caps 3-2. It took to shootouts, and of course, between Cooch and Point, they really pulled it off for us, and they brought some physicality to the ice. I was extremely impressed with these boys. But when it came to the Bruins yesterday, the physicality was just as much there. We know the Bruins love a good fight out on the ice, and they were trying to get under the Bolts' skin the entire game. But these boys showed up to play. Of course, Cooch and Point once again being the boys to get some points on the board. Killorn got a sweet tip in after Heedy ripped a long shot down the ice. And then Tyler Johnson on a quick little breakaway down the speed topped it off 3-2 without going to overtime and without going to shootouts. Now, my biggest takeaway from watching the game versus the Bruins is that I'm really, really happy with the progress and the comfort and the role that Blake Coleman and Barclay Goodrow, are playing for the Lightning. You're seeing them getting a lot more ice time. You're seeing their chemistry starting to come together, but because of their style of play and how fast they can really skate out there, they're helping the Bolts have a lot more central play and not being so pushed on the sideboards, because we have an opportunity to leave that central wide open, and that's where we screw ourselves over. Also, our defense, hats off to those pairings back there. Hedman was paired with Rhoda this game, not Bogusan. And what I love most about that pairing is that they play very high up on the ice, but they have the endurance to backtrack if they need to cut off any offensive play from the opposing team. So the guys are playing extremely well. Second period, we have to figure out a way to stop giving up the lead. We are there. We're controlling the first period. Second period, we give it up, and then we have to give it our all and exhaust ourselves third period. If we can just manage that second period and kind of, keep the boys on the back charts in third period, then you know what? We won't tear ourselves out so much. And I'm loving the physicality. Maroon's bringing the muscle. Chernak's bringing the muscle. We even got Reda, Heedy. All the guys are out there ready to fight for these playoff positions. Now, we know that teams that aren't in the Red Robin games right now are doing playoff qualifiers. The Canes swept the Rangers to advance, but what do you expect when it comes to Aho? I mean, they've got such young, talented players on that front line right now. Their top three shift lines are amazing, and they've got big guys on their offense, 6'6", 6'7", Hamilton. I can't remember the other guy's name at the moment, but I was expecting the Canes to move along. They gave us a run for our money at the top of the season. Islanders win the series versus the Panthers and advance after winning today 5-1. Congratulations to the Islanders. Coyotes beat the Panthers today 4-3 in overtime, advancing the series after being ahead 3-1. This just in that the Canadians advance over the Penguins. Talk about a happy birthday to Sidney Crosby. I'm sure that he's still just kind of whatever about it. He had a massive injury in the top of the season and bounced back as only Sidney Crosby could do. And to be there for his team is still a big deal, but I'm not sad to see the Penguins go. And then the Maple Leafs Muzzin is out of the hospital after his game time collision. So again, best wishes and prayers go out to him. Stick with us as we go to another quick commercial break, and then we break down some MLB and some exciting MLS news.
At Taco John's, you can expect one thing, so good, as in quality ingredients used in tacos and burritos made just for you. Every single bite.
So good.
Expect nothing less at Taco John's.
All right, guys, welcome back. So Strasburg to make his season debut this Sunday versus the O's. There was a lot of controversy whether he would return and how he would return. So it's great to see that he'll be back this weekend. Indians hitting coach opts out of the season due to COVID-19. And Cardinals' ability to carry out their season is looking extremely grim because more players are testing positive for COVID-19. We know that they had to postpone one of their series and two of their games. So we'll see what ends up happening with the Cardinals. We know a couple teams might end up dropping out before completing this season. Now, when it comes to our exciting MLS news, might not be exciting for everyone, but as y'all know, we are Florida-based, and the Orlando City soccer team is killing it. They advanced to the finals, beating Minnesota 3-1, and that was a great game to catch if you guys did not catch it. Orlando got on the board first, about 36 minutes in. Minnesota did not answer back until the 82-minute mark, and then, of course, Orlando City, about roughly 42 minutes in, they got a 2-1 lead, and then 95-minute mark, they seal the deal 3-1. Tossing Minnesota out. We actually thought Minnesota was going to give them a much tougher time out there on the pitch, but Orlando City was ready to play, and they're playing short of Dom Dwyer, who is a key asset to that team. I'm sure Dwyer was so stoked to see his boys perform out there. Portland beat Philadelphia Wednesday 2-1. So for our MLS final this coming Tuesday at 8:30 p.m., we will see Portland take on Orlando City. Go Orlando City. Guys, that's it for me tonight. Make sure that you send us your comments about Cam Newton or your messages, your thoughts, your feelings, everything, so we have more to break down this coming Tuesday. As for now, stay safe, stay sane, stay kind, stay compassionate, and wear your mask. I'll see you Tuesday at 8 p.m.